We got Mike over there working on the Nissan Barney, right? We still calling it Barney?
Yeah.
Finishing up some suspension on that, tie rods, and pitman arm, and yeah, that's it. Tie rods and idler arm. I do have a couple questions. I'm not sure what all I'm gonna need. There's the computer there under the kill switch. They installed this because they got a parasitic drain and they couldn't find it, so they just installed this ground wire to a kill switch and operating it like that. It runs and drives. Battery's fine. I think it might need a new alternator at this point, but so I know I'll need the computer and that wiring. It comes up here and then takes a turn here and goes in the engine, so I don't know how much of this I'm gonna need, but I'll pull it all out and figure it out later after we get the engine out and get rid of the truck. Then we'll go through and figure out what wiring I need to keep. I don't think I need to keep anything that goes into the cab, but I'll double check all of that before cutting anything. The other thing is the transmission. Now, I've put a lot of work into my 4L60. It's got billet pinless components and shift kits, and it's freshly rebuilt on top of that. So I think it'll bolt up. It has the same bolt pattern, but I'm not 100% sure. And then there's, of course, the issue of getting it to operate with this computer and this engine. I don't know if that will just plug and play or not. I do believe they're both 4-speeds. Mine's a 4L60. This might be a 4L60 also, or it could be a 70. It is 2-wheel drive, or it could be a 65 or 70. It's the only way to know, I think, is once I get it out, I can try to decipher the serial numbers. Or if you get inside, they have a different amount of clutch packs. Also, they have 5 planetary gears. So like this setup here, this is actually out of a transmission. You have the sun gear in the middle, right? Makes sense because it's in the center. And then around the outside, you've got these planetary gears. Now this one has 4 planetary gears that surround the sun gear, just like my 4L60 does, but in a 65, there would be 5 planetary gears surrounding the sun gear, making it a little stronger. Well, it's out. That took a while. That's a pain in the butt because I was actually trying to pull the harness out with the engine, leaving it mostly attached to the engine and transmission. But that proved out to be more difficult than I wanted it to be. I did get most of it out of the firewall and out from under the dash and pulled through this way. But then I realized that there's some of the harness that runs all the way back to the tank, and then there's an even fatter part of the harness here that runs along the side, I think, to the taillights. So I decided to strip the harness off the engine and pull it out like a normal person would, leaving the harness in there. And now that I've got the engine and transmission out of the way, I'm gonna get the Y pipe out. That's got to go with it. To pass smog, I need the factory cats. And then I can drop the tank and get the fuel pump and that wiring away from it. I'll probably save this set of lines here, 2 fuel lines and a purge. What do they call that? Vapor recovery line. Then I can try to figure out how much of that harness that runs to the back of the truck I actually need, and just snip it off. And you can see here's most of the connectors. I have no idea how much of this I'm going to need. I know I need most of this. This goes to the engine and the O2 sensors. These bigger plugs go to like the ignition and the fuse box under the hood, or in the side of the dash there. I just got the Y pipe out. That wasn't too difficult. Some Chinese puzzling to get it out of the frame there. Why is it still in the car? Well, I should have everything disconnected, I thought. Oh, there it goes. Actually nice and empty. Two fuel lines at the back where they go into the metal. I remove the purge tank first. Well, got dirt bike riders in the yard. Now there's just the electrical connector here. And that also lets me know the wires, the color of wires that I need to follow all the way up front, trim everything else. Okay. Well, I thought it was light. It might have some gas in it still. Now I just need to follow this harness back, or maybe I'll actually start at the back and follow it up to the front where it meets up with the rest of this harness, and then cut the rest. Come on. Yeah, that's... Well, that's hilarious. Someone cut an access hole in through the top to do the fuel pump. That's too funny. And I also realized that there's a bit of harness back here. This is all emissions stuff, so I'll need that wiring and whatever that doohickey is, along with this big hose that was on the purge tank. And then that goes back to right here, so I can cut the rest over there. Just make sure I keep these two colored wires over here, because the fuel pump wires go back to that same one. And I'll cut everything but those two wires that go to this plug. And I'll pull this out too. Gotta undo those ground wires. We just gotta pull this guy. Well, I got everything out. The engine, the transmission, the fuel tank, the fuel lines, all of the wiring harness, or at least all that I hope I'll need. I'll probably not need nearly as much as that, but I pulled most of what I could. There's the fuel tank and the lines. I really only need the pump and the smog stuff. There's the purge canister and the big fat line for that, because it still has to pass smog in California, even though it's a swap. I've got the catalytic converters too, right? So it still has to pass smog in its stock form, regardless of what truck it's going in. So that's why I had to go a little further. And it saves me money too. I don't have to go buy an aftermarket fuel pump. I know all this stuff's gonna plug and play into itself, at least. And that'll be the next video, is putting it all back together here on the ground and hooking up the harness, going through the harness first and trimming off what I don't need and get just the essentials needed to get the fuel pump, injectors, stuff like that. No purge codes. Can't have engine codes, like emissions codes. I'm gonna have a lot of codes, of course, because of body modules and tail lights and HVAC and all that stuff, but that's not emission stuff, so hopefully it won't be a problem. But until next time, guys, please let me know what you think. Put a comment down below if there's like a good tutorial on dissecting this wiring harness and identifying which wires I need and don't need. But other than that, leave a comment, leave a thumbs up, please subscribe. And as always, peace.